All right, everybody. Welcome to the Western Rookie Podcast. My name is Dan Johnson. I am your host. And today we are joined by Josh Sears. Josh, how we doing, man?
Doing well. Thanks for having me. It's cool to be here.
Yeah. And you live in Colorado.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. All right. Dude, I love Colorado.
Yeah, it's great.
It is hard, especially when you're in the mountains. If you're having a bad day, just look out the window, dude. Like, I can't necessarily say that here in Iowa, but whenever I'm in Colorado, I feel, especially Western Colorado, Central Colorado, if you are having a bad day, man, that's your own fault. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just the vibe of Colorado is pretty sweet.
I agree. It's wonderful. And we're located like right in some pretty good elk country. So like you said, you just gotta go outside, maybe go on a short drive and you get
Yeah,
cheered up pretty fast.
absolutely. Absolutely. How long have you lived in Colorado?
Born and raised, lived here my whole life except for like a short 3-year stint. I went to Southern California for some work and then came back.
Okay. So what's it like growing up in Colorado and then leaving to go to like a completely different environment like Southern California for 3 years and then coming back?
Jeez. Well, for me, I had a better appreciation coming back to Colorado.
Mhm.
I think it's one of those cases where you didn't really know how good you had it until you leave.
Yeah.
And then you leave and you're like, oh my gosh, I never want to leave this place again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is a deeper appreciation for what it is like here.
Absolutely. Hey dude, and that's I left Iowa for a handful of years and I went south and I was very happy to be back in Iowa after, like, I don't know what it is. It's just this, I don't want this to sound the wrong way, but going out, experiencing different cultures, and then coming back and appreciating the culture that you came from and the lifestyle that you have in this, dude, I thought it was pretty sweet. Like,
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
that's cool, but my home is Iowa type of deal.
yeah,
Yeah.
fully
Yeah.
understandable.
And we have some of the best whitetail hunting in the country, which makes me fairly happy as well.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard. I
Mhm.
I don't know much about whitetails, but I've heard it's good there.
Yeah. In your opinion, let's talk about Colorado from like just a sportsman's standpoint. And we can talk anywhere from like grouse hunting to moose hunting, like, and everything in between. What makes Colorado, in your opinion, so special?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. I think it's very diverse. One,
Hmm.
like everyone thinks mountains, but if you're on I-25 and you look east, you do not see mountains. So all the mountains are the western part. So
Hmm.
you have pretty good grassland hunting, antelope hunting on the east, and then just a short couple-hour drive, you're in some of the most beautiful mountains you can ever imagine. And
Yeah.
then you have all of your big game species. There's just so much variety here. There's lakes, rivers, if you want to get into fishing, and it's top shelf stuff. It's not, well, here's a little piece. Let's try that. This is like time of your life, memorable things that you can quickly access,
Yeah.
a short couple-hour drive, and you're in some pretty awesome country. You can stay down under 10,000 feet. You can go all the way up to like 12,000, 14,000 feet. So it's kind of like whatever you want to do, we have that option. And
Yeah.
it's a cool experience.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I've hunted, let's see, I've hunted Colorado, what, 3 years? I believe it was 3 years of hunting Colorado elk, and never was successful. The group I was with got close a couple times, but never was able to seal the deal. But again, just some like memorable experiences that I'm gonna have with me forever. And then
Definitely.
just like, not only that, but I went out there with my wife once. We went to Grand Junction, and then we
Mm.
went up into the mountains on the western slope, and
Yeah.
went up and down there, and had some fun times there. And yeah, dude, Colorado is. I still have yet one of my goals before I get too old is I want to climb a 14er.
Yeah.
And every single year I say I want to climb a 14er. Well, then I don't climb a 14er. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I might just have to take a trip to Colorado with whoever. I'm just going to say to my family, like, hey, I'm going to go out to Colorado. I might sleep in my truck. I might get a tent, whatever, but I am going to climb a 14er. Who's with me?
Yeah.
And if you want to go, you can go. If you want to stay, you can stay. But that's like a dream of mine is to hit a 14er.
That's awesome. Yeah. I hope you can make that happen.
Yeah.
You may know there's ones you can do. You can climb one and then scale over to a second. So
Yeah.
you can do whatever you like.
Yeah. I got real close one time. Well, two times. Um, just south of Georgetown, Colorado, there's a mountain called Mount Bairdstadt.
Yeah.
And so we got, dude, I was like, I could see the top of it. And we got up there, and then it started hailing and
Yeah.
slushing. And it just like, everybody was like, go down. Lightning. Dude, I saw lightning below me. It was crazy.
Jeez.
Like lightning
Wow.
skyrocket through the, uh,
Man.
sky below me, and I was like, okay, this is where I turn it around. And
Yeah.
then another time we were in Mount Evans, and I tried to we drove all the way up, and it was a very short walk to the top, but I got altitude sickness
Oh.
mixed with a little brown bottle flu, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that did not turn out well, so I we had to go down, and I
Dang.
didn't make it to the top.
Well, that's probably a smart decision.
Yeah.
And yeah, they say if you're gonna plan to climb a 14er, you want to get up and start your descent like before 1 p.m.
Yeah.
because those afternoon storms do roll in, and you don't want to mess with that.
No. No, not at all. Not at all. All right. Before we hop into today's conversation, who you are and what you do, I got to say thank you to the partners of the Western Rookie Podcast. First off is Montana Decoy. These guys have lightweight, packable decoys for elk hunting, antelope hunting, mule deer hunting, whitetails, turkeys, you name it. They have a portable, lightweight, high definition printed decoy to get you inside of the bubble, the quote unquote kill zone. So go check out montanadecoy.com. Next on the list for all you bow hunters out there, I have been using this, I would say like 15 years now, these broadheads for 15 years. So go check out, I can't believe I just like brain farted right there. wasparchery.com. Check out the mechanicals. I use mechanicals for mule deer and anything smaller. And then when I go on my elk hunt, I switch to a fixed blade and a little heavier setup. So go check out wasparchery.com. I do have a discount code, and that is NFC20 for 20% off. All right. Josh,
Yeah.
Colorado, who like you reached out to me, and you kind of have this thing that you do. Okay. Is this your full-time gig? And what is it? Like, first off, what do you do for a living?
Uh, Day job. I'm a software engineer. Um, so yeah, this is just something I started up based off of my passion.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Boots on the Ground, and it's scouting services. And what I think what the real benefit is it's not just, oh, here's some access points, go check out these areas, good luck. It's we're invested with whatever hunter.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, we're gonna have a one-on-one interview, and that's a free consultation. And that's just kind of to feel each other out. There's a lot of different people in the hunting industry, different goals, different um, definitions of success. Everybody has a definition of
Right.
success, and it's not the same. So we want to see where the hunter's at, what they're trying to achieve. A lot of people, it's probably a harvest. Some people, it's, hey, I just want to have an awesome time. I want to see some animals. I want to get maybe to full draw. And if I harvest, I harvest. So we need to learn all of that. So we're going to have a consultation. We're going to chat. We're going to see what the goals are. And then the real benefit is it's physical boots on the ground. So you draw a tag. you know you're going to be hunting Unit X in Colorado, but you don't really know where to start. Um, that's where we can help you. We have different packages as well. So we have the basic packages. You have your tag. You have areas that you think you want to go into, um, but you don't have time. It takes time. It takes time off work, time away from your family to come out and do a scouting trip. So a lot of people don't have that uh, luxury of time to just come out for an actual 2, 3, 4 day scouting trip. So you can get a hold of us and we'll go and we will actually look physically hike into the areas that you want to have looked at and basically do that scouting trip for you. We also have game camera packages that we can offer, and we also have a custom package. So if you don't know where to start, we'll walk you through the process, and hopefully, whatever your definition of success is, we'll help you achieve that.
Okay. So essentially, what you do is someone reaches out to you. I have an elk tag in Unit X,
Mm.
and you say, okay, here's here's our packages. The guy picks a package, and then you go out and you scout that unit, and you give him whatever that the deliverables of that package are. So essentially, you're scouting a unit and giving the client or the user of your service information about that unit, like trailheads, access roads, like what you see, right?
Yep. Yep.
There's a lot of questions, right?
Yeah.
And
Of course.
a lot of these would be like devil's advocate questions, right? So like there's a lot of units in the
Yeah.
state of Colorado, especially
Yeah.
for, and I'm just going to stick to elk for this conversation.
Okay.
Um, there's a, uh, and I'm saying right now, right? And there's mule deer in different places,
Yeah.
antelope in
Mm.
different places. But what I'm getting at is you go and scout a unit in, like, let's say June. Well, everybody knows that June and September are two different months. The elk herd do two different things. Where's the water? Could be a dry year, could be a year. So how are you guaranteeing that your client gets the most up-to-date information about that unit so that the information when you gathered it is as effective or efficient as possible for your user?
Yeah. So I mean, it's hunting, right? And it's scouting related. So we can't guarantee anything. Um, but we are going to do the best that we can to help you go into the field with a level of confidence, with actual intelligence. So with that said, we're going to look for types of sign that is year to year. So like a running area, generally bulls, they're going to be running in similar spots.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna try to find that with the area that you give me that you want to hunt. We're gonna try to locate stuff that's perennial, so like year after year, and it's not just, oh, I actually saw a bull at this location June 5th. Like, yeah, that bull probably is not gonna be there in September. We know
Mm-hmm.
that. So we're just trying to give you a better level of confidence, and that's with you show up in the dark, you don't know where you're going, you don't know where you're going to camp, you don't know where you're going to access water. So a lot of the logistical stuff, we're going to take care of that for you so that you know where you're going to go. You can, from your driveway, you can put in these coordinates and your phone will take you exactly to those coordinates. So hopefully that's going to save you some time. You're not going to have to worry about driving around trying to find camp. And then we're going to find areas that give us a high level of success. Because it's the same. Me personally, I scout. I'm out here in April shed hunting, April, May, start scouting in June, July, and I know the elk are going to be moving. So you got to look for certain things that,
Yeah.
so you're looking for like dark timber, north facing slopes, food, water, stuff that is going to keep elk in the area. And elk,
Mm-hmm.
they're big animals. They're going to move around. So you want to try to find locations that are big, that you're not putting all your eggs in this basket. Like there is a north facing slope over here. I'm going to hit that. No, you want to have multiple. You want to give yourself as many options as possible. And that's what we're going to try to do is to limit your time scouting so that you can spend more time hunting.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Um, so let's say you have like multiple users then. And I know this is probably when you get bigger. How long have you been doing this by chance?
This is just starting up.
Okay.
We launched the website and everything in February, so I'm doing what I can to get word out now and see where it goes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Now, when it comes to multiple users and multiple zones, or in a single zone, I'm sorry. Let's say
Mhm.
me and like five other people reach out to you about zone X.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, dude, I need information on zone X. And you've already handed that information out to like five people. Like, how do you prevent clogging or limiting users to giving them the same information?
Yeah, so my that's where I'm gonna rely on the user, and that's where I'm hoping, um, you have your access that you've done some level of e-scouting,
Hmm.
or you've done whatever research you've done, and you have certain ideas on the areas you wanna hunt, and that's also tailored to the type of hunt. So, like, are you looking to do a bivvy? Are you looking to hike miles in, or are you looking to just day hunt out of your truck? So whatever it's gonna differ based on the type of hunt you're looking for as well. So hopefully not all of those 5 people coming to me have the same area in mind, but, like, say they do, I'm not gonna disclose that information, but I will say, "I already have intel on this unit. I don't need to do the physical boots on the ground because I already have," and then you don't have to pay for the hiking cost. So,
Yeah.
you can kinda reuse some of that information, but the whole point of boots on the ground is to physically check, so I
Yep.
don't wanna sell people short in that regard, so
Yeah. I'm just talking about you telling multiple people the same trailhead because let's be honest, you can scout, like you could roll up on an entire unit and scout
yeah.
every inch of it. However, there's still only certain access points throughout that entire unit, right? So
Yep, yep.
whether it's 10 access points or whether it's 100 access points, there's still only X amount of access points into that. And so what I was getting at was how do you prevent overlapping your customers so that you're not sending five guys into the same area or five groups into the same area?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and to be honest, I'm gonna give my recommendation as well. I mean, I'm no expert, I don't
Mhm.
claim to be an expert, but I do have experience, and I'm gonna say, honestly, I don't think you should go in from this trailhead. I think there's probably better ways because I'll know that, and I'm not gonna try to cluster up a certain area because then that's gonna look bad on me if
Yeah.
a person shows up and it's super crowded and there's no chance they're gonna find any animals or achieve their level of success. So that's gonna just come down. I think it's gonna be a case by case basis.
Yeah.
So if whatever reason everybody comes to me and they have the same unit that they want to hunt, then we're gonna try to get creative and we're gonna talk about, well, what are your goals? Um, like, do you want a bivvy? Because if you're gonna try to bivvy, obviously you're gonna go on further than someone that's probably gonna just plan to do a day hunt.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, you can still disclose certain amounts of information. You can still access possibly the same trailhead because you're going to different areas.
Yeah.
So you just got to take into account what the hunter is looking for and tailor the scouting to that specific need.
Yeah. Um, I don't know why this popped in. I thought it funny, but you hear the stories all the time about some guy, I did a conversation with an outfitter. And the guy was like, "Hey, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to go kill an elk." But he showed up, and the dude's just some fat ass with no conditioning, didn't prep for anything. So, do you ask questions like that, like how far are you willing to travel? What condition, like what shape are you in? Do you
Yeah.
think you could pack an elk out by yourself, and then tailor that to their hunting strategy?
Definitely, yeah. That's all stuff that I'm gonna need to know, and that's where I think the consultation is kind of a feeling out thing. So just because someone comes to me doesn't mean that necessarily gonna take them on. If we're not right for each other, we're not right for each other.
Yeah.
or they may have a consultation, talk to me, and decide they don't like me. So
Mhm.
it's a two-way street there, and definitely need to know what kind of physical conditioning they're in because it is a huge endeavor. And Western hunting, it does require, depending, like if you want to go in deep, if you want to cover ridges and cover ground, you need to be physically fit.
Yeah.
Um, so it again, that goes down to what are your goals? What is the style of hunt that you want to do? What type of hunting experience do you have? Because yeah, I get it. A lot of times people think they're up for the show and then they get punched in the face, so to speak, and realize this isn't for them. So we're
Yeah.
just trying to set people up with confidence and to put them in the best position. They're still going to have to do the hunting themselves, but we're just trying to give them some edge. So when they
Yeah.
hit the field, they're ready to go and they're confident that they have a game plan in place.
Yeah. Okay. So you have a consultation with someone and you're like, okay, what are you looking for? Right. I'm looking for an elk. I'm
Mhm.
looking for a 350 elk, or I'm looking for a 180 mule deer. Right. Like that's a pretty aggressive
Yeah.
type of response. How do you manage those types of expectations for someone who's coming from the East Coast or the Midwest to go hunt?
Well, I mean, it depends on their tag, right? So
Mhm.
if they draw some primo unit that takes 10 plus years, that's more reasonable. That
Mhm.
I could see that being more of a possibility. If they're going, hey, I drew what well, it used to be over the counter, but hey, I drew a 0 point unit. Chances are that's gonna be heavily pressured. You're probably not even gonna see a bull that big on public land.
Yeah.
So that's where some certain level, I mean, honesty is the best policy, and I'm just gonna tell you straight up, like, that's not really realistic based on the tag that you have. If
Yeah.
that's your goal, great, but all I can do is help you. I'm not gonna guarantee anything. You may see nothing but little raghorns.
Yeah.
Because of
Yeah.
my years of experience, I've been hunting lower units that don't require a lot of points, with one exception. And seeing bulls of that size, or even mule deer of that size, it's very rare.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, how do you like how many people are involved in your organization? Because one man constantly scouting an entire state or half a state, whatever.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Um, well, right now it's just me. I do have some personal friend, like my hunting friends that I do trust, and they have already agreed that if this thing does grow to that level, they're on board to help. But I mean, this isn't a full-time job. This is like I want to give back what I can to this community. I want to try to help people learn at a higher curve than I did. I made a lot of mistakes, and I'm trying to help people um, not make those same mistakes. So realistically, I'm looking for just, a handful of hunters that are interested, because I won't be able to do more than that myself
Yeah.
personally. If it takes off and there's demand, then I'm gonna do what I can to get trustworthy people that can go and help me scout.
Gotcha. All right, cool. Well, I mean, that's I'm glad that you said that because that just means you have a realistic mindset, like it would be impossible for someone to scout every one person to scout every elk unit
Yes.
every year in the
Yeah.
state of because fires happen, drought
Uh-huh.
happens, like hunting pressure happens, and then elk herds shift around or whatever, mule deer shifts around. Um, and is this for all species that are living in the Rockies?
Yeah. I'm down for all species. I specialize in elk just because that's where the most experience that I have personally is, but it doesn't limit it. I mean, it's scouting, in my opinion, is
Hmm.
scouting. So if people have areas that they need me to hit, I'm happy to go scout for mule deer. I'm happy to go scout for antelope. Um, but I will say my expertise, and I do specialize in elk.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about elk a little bit now. For like we know what you do now, right?
Mhm.
You've been hunting in the mountains for several years. You're experienced. And now you're doing this scouting thing. When you go into, and this might help somebody out who is planning on making a scouting trip
Yeah.
to a Western scouting trip, what is it this springtime frame, summertime frame? Someone's going to dedicate some time to drive all the way to Colorado to look for elk or mule deer. What is it that you're looking for specifically on your scouting trips?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. Because you don't want to waste your time. I
Right.
think I think it should all start with e-scouting. E-scouting is a great tool, but I think e-scouting has its limitations. So first off, before you even plan to come out, you should be e-scouting your unit, just so you have a general idea of areas that you want to check. And then when you do make the drive or fly or however you want to get out here, um, I think what's wise is to learn the roads, learn how you're going to get around the unit, have options because, as you just said, things happen. There's wildfires, there's drought, there's um, timber mitigation, fire mitigation, a bunch of stuff that you don't really plan for. So you need to know the road systems. You need to know how accessible are the roads. Just because a road is on a map doesn't mean you can drive it or doesn't mean that you want to drive it. So maybe you want to think about bringing out an e-bike or a four-wheeler additional means of transportation
Mhm.
so you're not beating up your truck.
Yeah.
So I'd say start there, start with the roads, know where the nearest towns are, know where you can go if something happens, um, like stuff happens in the woods. So you need to be able to know how you're going to be safe.
Yeah.
That's your priority. Um, and then from there, I think you kind of move in. So now you're starting to go hiking. You already mapped out your routes, e-scouting, I hope. And you're gonna start checking some of those spots. Basically, you're looking for, in my opinion, is this a spot that I want to focus on during season, or is this a spot that I'm checking off and I don't need to even think about it again? Because sometimes the spot could look perfect. It has everything you're looking for on a map. It has timber. It's north facing. It appears like there's water in there, but you hike in there and you see it's nothing but blowdown. You can't really move around. It's not what it looked like. Maybe it's steeper terrain. So that's one you're gonna X off and say, I don't need to
Yeah.
come back here. So for me, I'm not looking for animals specifically. If you see animals, that's a bonus. But I'm looking for, is this elk habitat? Is this an area where I think elk are either going to be moving through, or is this an area where elk are going to be hanging out?
Mhm.
And I guess indicators of that would be, we kind of touched on it previous, but uh, perennial sign. Is this an area that's just covered? Elk are big animals. They leave sign. You kind of can get a feel for if the elk are hanging around or if they're just moving through. You'll start to see game trails. Is this just a lightly used game trail? Or is this an elk highway? Meaning like this is used frequently. There's multiple of these. They're going from north slope to south slope. You get
Mhm.
a pretty good idea when you start seeing stuff like that. Like this is elk country. This is an area where elk are gonna be. So that's kind of the stuff that I'm gonna be looking for. I'm also looking for rubs. You can kind of see fresher rubs from like this past fall versus really older rubs, and you should see a lot of them. That's going to be more of an indicator of where the bulls are hanging out. And then if you are going out, say in June, July, and you do happen to see cows, like herds of cows, that's a great thing because chances are those cows, they're not leaving because that's where they're having their calves, that's where they're living, and that's where the bulls are going to be going in September.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of key things that you can focus in on. But again, you're not just, I'm gonna hike here to here. If I don't see an elk, I'm crossing this off. Like to me, that wouldn't be a reason to cross a place off.
Yeah. Are you also looking for human pressure? Like,
Okay.
I don't know. Like, it's hard to tell if, like, oh, this truck tire mark in the dirt's been here since last November or last September. That's impossible. But are you, like, what are you looking for from a hunter pressure? in July or something like that. Is that
That,
even possible?
yeah, I think so. That's a great question. I'm glad you asked it because I wanted to touch on that. But like for example, I helped my brother hunt a unit last year. It's closer to Denver, so you get a lot of people that it's in good driving distance, and they can be out there hiking a trail within a couple hours. And
Mm,
there's a lot of outdoor enthusiasts in Colorado, not necessarily hunters. So you kind of look for proximity. Is this a popular hiking trailhead? Because if it is, like say the Colorado Trail, it's a big thing. It goes across the whole state, and people like to hike it. So if you're accessing a trailhead off the Colorado Trail, chances are you're probably going to have recreators there. Um, Another area that I scouted, you can kind of gauge how easy was this place for me to get in? How long did it take? How far is it from a city? If it's easy for me to get into, like I can quickly drive, park the truck, hike about a mile, and I'm in pretty good elk country. Chances are that you're probably going to see some traffic with other hunters in that area because if it's that easy to access, people know about it. I mean, the technology is out. Everybody can e-scout.
yeah,
Everybody can read forums. Everybody can call the biologist and get information and get those general locations. So I kind of take that into consideration. This is a great area and it's not that hard to access. The hiking, there's a hiking trail that goes right here. And then from here, I'm going off trail. I'm in a good patch of timber. So chances are that's going to see. Um, so you kind of take that with a grain of salt, right? Like,
yeah,
yes, this looks good now, but it's probably going to be pressured. And I made that mistake opening day this past fall. I found an area, had game cams up in there, elk all summer, just pictures, pictures, pictures. It was great. And I knew in the back of my head, like this area is a little too easy to access. And so I went out there opening day, still had opportunities and saw elk, but I saw a bunch of other hunters as well. So it's
yeah,
all stuff to consider while you're planning your scouting trip. You kind of want something that's a little more harder to access. Get off trail like a mile or more, you're probably going to see less people. So if
yeah,
you can find spots that have those characteristics, I would say your odds of running into other hunters go down.
yeah. So, hey, you brought up trail cameras.
Mhm.
What is the law in Colorado about trail cameras or cellular trail cameras? Is there a difference?
There is. So right now, both of them are still legal, with exception of during season. It's my understanding, and don't quote me. You still need to check the regs because stuff changes. But it's my understanding, like for cellular cameras, if you have a cell cam, you cannot hunt that area within like 24 hours of receiving a picture from that camera. So say
Yeah,
I want to hunt this area on Wednesday, I get a picture Tuesday, technically you'd be violating that law. You have to have that camera off, or I would recommend finding cameras that you can turn them off remotely. So if you don't go pick them up before season, I'd recommend just shutting them off so that there's no gray area. And then non-cellular cameras, I don't think there's any issue with that. You can have them up during season. You can go check them. But again, don't quote me.
yeah.
Read the reg.
I'm trying to look for something right now. I typed something in, and it looks like, according to this, now the this is a off Facebook. So
Yeah.
say what you like. This is the only thing that has been like when I Googled it. I'm not seeing anything from like that just all of a sudden pops out. Rules and
Mhm.
regulations. Um, I don't want to dig through that, but here's what the overview says. It says in Colorado, cellular trail camera laws prohibit the use of wireless live action game cameras to track, locate, or survey wildlife for same day or following day hunting. Additionally, state regulations require you to remove all cellular trail cameras 72 hours before the start of any hunting season.
Yeah. Okay.
So it looks like for well, it says almost two different things here. It
Mhm.
says same day or following day is not cool.
Yeah,
And then 72 hours before the start of any season. So again, a Department of Wildlife throwing gray area, a lot of
mm,
gray area out
yeah,
there.
yeah,
So basically, if you're within question, just don't use it or take it down before the season
definitely.
starts. So,
I, I would
okay,
agree with
cool,
that.
cool. And then do is that something that you would recommend? And how much weight would you put into, let's say I drive out to Colorado, I put a trail camera up, and I get a bull in velvet. How much weight should I put uh, into that bull in velvet in, let's say, July or August? And then
Mm.
when I'm coming out there in mid September to try and hunt him.
Yeah, I'd say I wouldn't. I mean, it's a cool picture,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't count on that bull being in that same area in the fall. Um, you might get lucky, but generally, you're probably if you get a bunch of cows and calves and occasional bulls, that would excite me more. It's
Yeah.
always great to have the pictures of the bulls and get excited about them, but
Hmm.
putting a lot of weight and confidence in that, yeah, the bulls, they're gonna do what they do, and then come September, they're gonna be thinking about moving to where those cows are.
Yeah.
So if you find cows on your camera regularly, that's something I would really consider, an area to key in on. Maybe if you get bulls like back to back, if they're there, not just a one time going through, but you have bull, couple days, bull, couple days. Maybe you could count on that for like an early season before they start trying to go to where the cows are, or
Yeah.
it could be a mixed bag and you got bulls and cows. So again, there's just so many variables that you have to
Yeah.
consider.
Yeah. Same question, but with mule deer.
Mm.
Do they travel differently than elk do?
Um, that's I can't. I mean, I'm not. Again, my expertise isn't fully with mule deer.
Hmm.
I'm gonna say probably not. I mean, I've had some cameras where I'll have a mule deer buck, but then he'll come back and be in that same area, but it'll
Mm.
be like weeks have gone.
Yeah.
So like I haven't really done a lot of game cameras up in the high country where you can find a lot of these nicer bucks.
Yeah.
Um, so again, I can't answer that question with full confidence.
Gotcha. Okay. I I actually like that answer. Um so okay. So you come out and how many places, like, I know there's guys out there, and I've heard other, read articles, heard other people talk about it, where you definitely should not be putting all of your eggs into one basket,
Yeah.
all of your energy into one piece of public that could get blown up instantly by other hunters.
Yeah.
How many backups do you think a person should scout or check out if they are going to put the energy into a Western scouting mission?
I would say as many as possible.
Yeah.
I know you can't just say like, oh, 3 and be done. Like
Yeah.
for me, and I know it's different for me in my case, but I tend to hunt similar units year to year. So my goal is every single year I want to push myself to learn new areas. I don't want to just scout the same areas. I want to learn new areas in the areas that I know I'll be hunting.
Hmm.
So I'd say there is no limit. Know that unit, know how to get around. But I know not everyone has that time.
Yeah.
So that's why I would say at least have like 3 to 5
Hmm.
at least. Because stuff does happen. Your game plan's gonna get wrecked. There's opening day and then there's the rest of the season. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you might have a full game plan for opening day and you show up, there's 5, 10 other trucks at that trailhead. So you're gonna need to pivot. So you're gonna wanna know the better you know that unit in the area, just the more confidence you're gonna have, and you're gonna be able to take that kind of stuff in stride. Be like, it's not gonna upset you because if everybody's here, then there's probably not anyone in this other spot that I know. So
Yeah.
go hit that other spot, and you'll probably have it to yourself.
Yeah. Obviously, we sit here and we daydream, right? We've seen the Primos videos of like the manicured ranches and elk just bugling like
Yeah,
bananas. Nobody is around. You just drive a side by side to a meadow, hop out, and then there's like 45 bulls just with 100 cows, just going crazy, right? That's not real, right? In
right.
the public land game. So when it comes to trying to get away from people, and this isn't really a scouting question, but this is more of like a hunting question.
Yeah.
Um, is there a time in the elk um, season you can talk about archery, you can talk about rifles, or both, where just of like for example just avoid opening day because you're going to run into everybody opening day? Is there a time where it's just like, well, actually if you avoid the first week and come second, there's usually a big dip in hunters, or any type of information like that you could share?
Yeah, I mean, I can share just what I've noticed in my experience. Opening day, yeah, you nailed it. Everyone, because the way I see it, everyone's excited. Everybody's been dreaming about this for 11 months. Season ends, and I'm going to talk just to archery for this question.
Yeah.
Season ends. You have 11-month wait. You're probably thinking about being out there hunting September almost every single day in those 11 months.
Hmm.
You're going to be motivated. You're going to want to be out there. You're not going to want to miss opening day. Well, that's everybody else too, thousands
Hmm.
of people. So opening day, I wouldn't say necessarily avoid it entirely, but just expect you're gonna have company.
Hmm.
Um, and then I'd say as the season progresses, motivation goes down. People, it's not what they thought it was gonna be. Things come up, so you'll start to see it drop. For instance, me last year, me and my hunting buddy, we showed up at a trailhead. This was probably like September 5th, September 6th. So almost 1 week was done with the season. There were probably like 20, not kidding, 20 trucks parked. A lot of those were, I think, outfitters going in deep with horses.
Hmm.
That's cool. I mean, we used that pressure to our advantage. We still had a great time, had some opportunities, but come back to the same area towards the end of the season. Literally, I think there was about 3 days left in the season. I was
Hmm.
the only one there, the only truck there. So I'd say it definitely drops off as the season progresses. So I'd say you're probably going to have more people in the first week, and then it's going to be kind of just a downward trend. And that's just my experience. It could vary between units because a lot of times, like peak right out here in Colorado is like the third and the fourth weeks. It's a 4 week season. So those third and fourth weeks, you might see again, maybe at the beginning of that third week, you might see a little spike, but then as time goes on, it's still going to trend back down. So,
Yeah.
and then I mean, as is probably rule of thumb anywhere, but like um, midweek to weekend, probably weekends, you're going to see more people out and about, especially like because as you may or may not know, Colorado overlaps muzzleloader season with archery season, so you got to take that into account. So like that start of muzzleloader season, you're going to start seeing a lot of orange.
Yeah.
But go midweek, you go on like a Wednesday, Thursday, it's highly likely there's going to be far less people out in the field.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's almost like public land hunting 101 at that
Yeah,
point. It's just like,
yeah,
don't go during the weekends if you're trying to avoid hunting pressure. But,
exactly. Yeah.
everybody works, so
Mm,
you got to go when you can. Talk to me a little. I'll tell you this: all the states that I've hunted, Colorado seems to have very well marked roads.
mhm,
What is private, what is public, where you can and where you can't go. And even I would say Colorado has their roads, even in the high country, seem to be very well maintained.
mhm. Yeah,
That's my experience from a guy who's only hunted out there a handful of times, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, talk to us a little bit about what your experience is navigating roads out there of like where you can, where you can't go. Is Onyx accurate? Like what happens if you see a, private road sign? Like talk to us a little bit about how you navigate that.
Yeah, so yeah, I'd say I agree with you mostly that yes, Colorado roads in most units that I've hunted, it's been a similar experience. They've been fairly well maintained. Um, Fairly easy to navigate. And then like Onyx has I use Onyx. I mean, it's basically I think I heard someone else say the same thing, but it's basically my Bible
Yeah.
when I'm out in the field. Um, yeah, so I fully rely on Onyx and the roads, especially when I'm planning on my e-scouting. I fully trust Onyx with the roads. It's rare that you'll come to a road and it's closed. I
Hmm.
mean, that of course early so like in Colorado, a lot of the roads are closed from during the winter, and they don't open a lot of them till like June 15th, and that's for like bringing numbers up, calving and stuff, so that
Hmm.
trying to limit the human disturbance on herds.
Hmm.
So a lot of those, so that's the only exception. If you look at Onyx during that time, it will say a road is open, but you drive out there and it's gated until, and it will say clearly on the gate not open until like June 15th.
Yeah.
But during hunting season, during the fall, you're not going to have that, so you don't need to worry about that as much during like big game seasons.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of times you'll see private, but the road going through the private is still open. You just
Hmm.
can't go off the road and into the private land. Um, for the most part, things are fairly well marked and fenced. I think it's the owner's responsibility to mark their private land with a fence and a sign to say it's private, no trespassing. Just because it's not marked doesn't make it okay. So
Right.
again, but yeah, I would say for the most part, you can depend on IX for navigating roads, and most of them are open. And IX has been pretty accurate. Most of the time, the roads are in pretty good condition.
Hmm.
I usually bring an e-bike because it's easy to have on my truck. So if you do get into a hairy spot that you don't really want to drive your truck on, you can just pop off, take your bike.
Yeah.
Because there are some, depending, and again, I mean, if you're going in deep, you're going into somewhere that's a little more remote, chances are that road isn't going to be as nice.
Yeah.
But if it's like the main access roads around a unit, those have been fairly well maintained. But those more remote roads, that's where it can get a little dicey.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Um, is there what's the it's been a while since I've hunted Colorado, but in other states, I take advantage of walk-in. Does
Mhm.
Colorado have like a good amount of walk-in, or I don't know what you call, is it something different than walk-in?
Yeah, well, we do have some walking areas, and then they have state land.
Hmm.
Um, and those state land areas are open during some hunting seasons. It gets kind of confusing for me personally because I can't find anything definitive if that specific land is open during hunting season or closed. So
Yeah.
I would say the best thing to do there is just contact the game and fish warden for that unit
Yeah.
and let them tell you because it can get a little confusing. But there is, especially because a lot of the east, and I'm not as familiar with the east part of Colorado. It's more private. Like Western Colorado, it's like again, I'm not gonna say numbers, but most of Western Colorado is public.
Okay.
Most of Eastern Colorado is private. But there is for like bird hunters and stuff, there is some walk-in areas. I'm just not as familiar with them because I don't really focus on that as much.
Right. Right. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. What other things do we need to look for, whether we're scouting or we're scouting slash hunting when we step foot out of the truck and onto the terrain?
Well, I mean, you're looking for if it's me, I'm gonna look for an area where I can go and it gives me a lot of options. Instead of, oh, I need to hike 3 miles to get to this ridge and I have this timber patch. That's one option and you don't have any advantages. elk are in there and they're not, and you spend all that time and energy to get in there, you just wasted a half a day or more if they're not there.
Yeah.
So I would say give yourself options. Park your truck in a spot where maybe you can do a loop hiking, so you're not walking in the same way you're walking out. Cover as much ground as you can, because the more ground you cover, especially for elk, cover ground till you find them. So I would just look for a spot where you have options to do that. A lot of good north facing timber patches. Water, an abundance of water is a good thing to find. Um, Areas where with benches, those tend to like benches up on the mountains. So
Yeah.
like maybe 2/3 up the way up the mountain, and you start seeing nice flat benches. That's something you're probably gonna want to walk through,
Yeah.
or even maybe you're calling instead of hiking as much. Use your calls. Find an advantage to where you can call and reach those areas. Um, but I'd say the main thing is just give yourself options. Don't
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, time's critical, and a lot of time there's never enough time, right?
Right.
You're hunting, you finally find out day 6, and you gotta go home like tomorrow, and
Yeah.
so you have very limited opportunities with that. So just try to maximize your time. Don't. I've also made the mistake of trying to think, oh, I gotta get in deep. I gotta bring 60 plus pounds of gear.
Hmm.
That's just gonna wear you out. Takes so
Fact.
much
I've
effort to
been there.
get in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've learned that too. So, I mean, maybe take it as an approach where you want to be light and fast. You want to go to see if this area is even feasible,
Hmm.
if there's elk, and then plan to go get gear and head back in. Maybe take it at that approach.
Yeah.
But I'd say just be mobile, be willing to adapt, and give yourself options.
Yeah. See, the whole mindset of when we first start, or when I first started talking or becoming interested in elk hunting, the vibe was, dude, you got to go back deep. You got to go
Yeah.
past the guys, who are out there. You got to be 3 miles, 4 miles in, because that's where they're at, right? Is that like false? I mean, not necessarily false because I'm sure there's elk back there, but at the same time, like I've heard guys like you hear stories. It's like, dude, I saw an elk cross a road and then I
Yeah.
walked in and shot him. Right? Like that's how you got those examples as well. So, like, do do non-resident elk hunters tend to make it harder than it needs to be, in your opinion?
I'm not gonna say non-resident or resident. I'm
Mhm.
gonna say, yeah, that I think that stigma, for lack of a better word, is still out there. I think
Yeah.
it's this sexy thing to do this big backcountry style bivvy hunt,
Hmm.
and that just seems to think people tend to think that's how you're gonna have success. That's how you're
Right.
gonna find all of these elk. But yeah, I've learned to tailor. I've been finding elk. I don't need to go in as far. Um, instance an example of that last year, my brother had a tag that took he drew the unit with 4 points, and he wanted to go to all these wilderness areas, and I happened to know the unit quite well because I did a lot of shed hunting in the unit.
Yeah.
So he spent the first, like, 5 days of his hunt checking all this wilderness, going in deep, and he was coming up empty, dry. He's like, "Man, I don't know what's going on." I'm like, "Let's try to hit some of these spots where I was getting into elk during shed hunting." And
Yeah.
sure enough, that's when opportunities started coming up. That's when sightings and call-ins started happening. So that's
Yeah.
just an example of, yeah, you don't always need to go in as deep. Just if it looks good on a map, like check it out, and
Yeah.
like don't overlook it just because it's not 5 miles in.
Right.
So I do think that is an easy thing to get caught up with.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, Josh, man, this has been a great conversation. I think it's going to be really helpful and insightful for those who maybe don't have maybe they are going to take a trip out. And it's like, for me, dude, I'm sitting on a lot of points for Wyoming. And there's part of me that says, okay, well, I've invested this much time into Wyoming and collected 12 points. I might as well take a trip out there in
Yeah,
the summertime and go hike around that some of the places where I think I might hunt. or try to draw and get a collection of, doing exactly what your service provides for some of those people, and get boots on the ground and some of that scouting. So I think this has been a great conversation, and I do appreciate your time. If people actually, like, if people want to get a hold of you who are potentially going to think, or they're thinking about hunting Colorado, how should we send them to you?
Yeah, thank you for having me. And yeah, this has been an awesome conversation. It's a passion of mine, and I want to help people. I want to help people maximize their success
Yeah.
and have better memories. I'm here to give back. So we do have a website up. It's www.bootsonthegroundservices.com. And then my Instagram is bootsontheground_scouting. And either method, you can reach out to me. Again, even if you don't think the service is for you, but you have questions, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help. I'll do wherever I can to based on my personal experience. Or, I mean, I've been around Colorado for several years now, so I know a thing or two, and I'm
Yeah.
happy to help. I just want to help, especially if, and I'm not gonna. I mean, if you're looking for a DIY experience and you don't, I mean, and you have questions, just reach out. I'll be more than happy to help. All contact info is on the website, and we can set up a consultation if you just want to chat, even if you're not interested in having the actual boots on the ground services, but you just have questions,
Yeah.
just please reach out.
That's awesome, man. Well, Josh, man, I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much, and good luck this upcoming season, man.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate having me, and this has been great. Thank you.